What's up guys, Dominic here from Point Fitness, and today's theme will talk about stretching. So thank you to everyone that volunteered yesterday on the voting polls, and the winners were triceps, hamstrings, lats, and core. Now those four, they're the biggest common things that I see and a lot of my clients extra stretch. And every time that I say, all right, show me how to stretch your triceps, show me how to stretch your hamstrings, they're almost there, but just slight little differences that will make a big difference on the way that we're feeling in the stretch. So with that being said, let's get started. So before I show you guys the first stretch, right, which is the hamstrings, you need to have this in mind. First, understand the proper action of the muscle that you're trying to stretch. So in this case, we're talking about the hamstring. So the action of the hamstring is to flex the knee, but also internally rotate the hip and also extend the hip. So we have to do the total opposite of that, okay? So now when we have that in mind, let's go over some of the common miscues that I see when people stretching the hamstrings. So as I'm sure, you know, we've done this all in like high school, college, whatever, even like to this day, we would like, oh, my hamstrings are tight. So what we would do is get down here, right, lay on the floor, and just kind of do one of these things, okay? And like, yes, you feel a little bit, but there's a big issue with this type of a stretch, and it's the huge stress that's going on in the lower back. So now as you're reaching down this way, you're actually compressing your lower back, and then that will basically mess it up just to get the stretch going on the hamstring. So that's no good. So what you could use is a bench, right? So that's gonna help you get a little bit more of a deeper stretch. So again, so now the hips are up, so that's good. That gets a little bit more of the upper hamstring body insertion. And now we're going down like this. Definitely feel it more, but at the same time, curving that lower back. So now that's out of the question. So what you need to do is don't reach for your foot, right? So what you need to do is get into an anterior pelvic tilt, right? So basically stick your butt out, have your chest tall, and think about reaching up, right, for the ceiling. Reach up, keep that curve, keep your toe pointed up, and even if you want a deeper stretch, you could sit back on the hip and reach up, and that will get everything in here, okay? So not only will that help get the stretch a little bit further, but you could even rotate your foot a little bit to hit different parts of the hamstring, right? Because there's quite a few that make up the hamstring. So if you just rotate your foot and at the same time, anterior tilt, sit back, reach up. Next, let's dive into the tricep. So the tricep, what's the purpose of the tricep? What does it do? It extends the elbow, but it also extends the shoulder joint, right? Because the long head inserts all the way to the back of the scapula, okay? So case in point, long head. So not only do we have to make sure that we are flexing the elbow, but flexing the shoulder joint, this is where the common flaws start to happen. So when I would tell a client, all right, stretch out your tricep, they would go into this. And yes, this is, you feel a little bit pull happening over here, but that's just because of you actually pulling the muscle. It's not necessarily doing anything for the shoulder, for the tricep. It's more of like you pulling the actual muscle with your hand. All right, you know what I'm talking about? You might feel a little bit of a stretch here in the lat, but again, there's a better way to do this, and all you need is a pole and a band. So once you get a band, resistance band, right, make it pretty hefty, okay? You want to grab it, stick your hand through, wrap around, right? Squeeze as hard as you can. And now the opposite. So again, so the tricep extends the shoulder, okay? Sorry, extends the shoulder and extends the elbow, okay? So now we have to do the opposite. So we have to flex the elbow, right, which is happening here, and we have to flex the shoulder joint, which is going on over here. So you just want to get into this nice line position and just feel enough for the band to pull your elbow back, but at the same time kind of keeping your scap locked, because now if you kind of let it dive out this way, now you're opening up your rib cage and you're causing more problems, more so with the rotator cuffs. So you want to keep this all tight, keep this here, let the band pull you back, and slightly lift your arm up to the ceiling, and you'll feel a greater tension. And even if you want some more tension, just squeeze your bicep and let it pull. You don't have to worry about your wrist with this one, right? The tricep does nothing with supination or pronation, right? So turning the wrist does nothing like that. So it's just the elbow and the shoulder. Hold, pull back down, rest, and let it go. So I feel it all here. And this is all what you need. A couple of seconds, relax, and you're good. Next, let's talk about the lats. So lats are one of the biggest muscles in our body, right? But now let's discuss the actions of it. So the action, they extend the arm, right? Bring the arm to extension. It also adducts the arm, so it brings it closer to the body. And it also internally rotates the shoulder, okay? So that's bringing it back. So that's the 3 rows of lats. Now if you put it all together, all right, let's say you're up here, up and away, and you're externally rotated, you come back, in, and around. That's contraction of the lat. So to stretch it, do the opposite. All we need is a pole or a doorway. Okay, so you want to get into position, right? Line up here. Have your feet shoulder width apart, right? Nice and athletic. But you want to take your hand up overhead, right? So that will help pre-stretch the lat automatically. Now with the hand, that's pretty important, right? With the hand, you don't want to hold it this way. You want to turn it like this on the opposite side, right? So if you're on a doorway, the door is going to be on this side of the pole, not here. So grab it this way. Squeeze as much as you can, right? Good support. Let your pelvis drop down, right? Because now your lat inserts all the way over here, but the origin and the fascia are all the way down here connecting to the pelvis. So if you sit back on the pelvis, hold on for dear life on this pole, and turn your body away, now you're going to feel a good stretch, or towards the camera, I should say. Turn your body towards the camera, sit back, and now that's full lat stretching. And relax, go again. Sit back on the pelvis, turn your body away, breathe out, and you're going to feel it really, really good in there. Last and certainly not least, we're going to discuss the core. So what does the core do? And again, the core, it's made up of the rectus abdominis, internal and external obliques, transverse abdominis, okay? All those muscles, they kind of form the core. So when I mean core, that's what I'm really talking about. But the biggest thing that I see with the core when clients demonstrate to me how to stretch out their core, and again, there's nothing wrong with this one, all right? It's pretty simple, right? So the core, it's meant to, flex the spine, right? Also create rotation. So this one, it's great, right? Because you're obviously doing the opposite of it. You're putting the spine into extension, going all the way back here, and holding it, right? So that's great. Nothing wrong with this one, right? But now we have to talk about the other muscles, like the transverse abdominis and the internal and external obliques, which are basically responsible for rotation and anti-rotations. So how do we do that? Really simple. And this is definitely one that you've seen before, but with a little twist to it. So you take one leg, cross over. Take your hand, bring it over. And I know you're thinking, oh, it's a back stretch. This is the back stretch, right? Rotating all the way this way. Okay, so that's like more of a back glute stretch kind of feel. But for the external and internal obliques, it's more of a chest pump. So you're going to stand here, right? Sit back on this arm and almost bring your chest up. Stand here, chest up, and this arm, it just controls the pelvis, right? Because now the internal obliques, they attach from the bottom of the rib cage down to the pelvis. So that's where the ribs come in, and the pelvis has to stay still for this. So if the pelvis is moving, then that makes its way to the back. All right, so you're going to stand here, stabilize with this arm, and chest up, and then you create a little bit of rotation. And I feel it on the opposite side, so I'll show you this way. Come back here, arm straight. So right now my chest is down, this is stabilizing, and I just bring it up, and then I create a little rotation. So I'm never doing this. I'm never rotating my back. I'm picking it up, and I bring my chest over just a little slightly, and you feel all the pull happening here. So there you have it, guys, a couple of ways to stretch out your hamstrings, tricep, lats, and your core. So if you have any comments, questions, please drop them below. I really hope you enjoy this, and it will help you feel better, create more flexibility, more blood flow to the muscles. If you have any questions, drop them below. I said that twice, but I'm going to keep it. Have a good day, guys.